Imagine a root vegetable so treasured that a Roman emperor once accepted it as payment. A plant so naturally sweet that long before sugar became common in Europe, people treated it like sugar pulled straight from the soil. It appeared on royal tables, kept monastery gardens alive through brutal winters, and carried a flavor so rich that today's supermarket parsnips seem almost lifeless beside it. And yet, walk into any modern grocery store and you will not see it. There is no label, no shelf space, no forgotten corner where it quietly waits to be rediscovered. This was not a crop that disappeared because it failed. It did not vanish because it was weak, bitter, or difficult to grow. In many ways, it was lost because it was too good for the system that replaced it. It was too unusual, too untamed, too full of character for an industrial food world built around sameness. We traded one of history's sweetest roots for a neat orange vegetable that could be cleaned, packed, shipped, and sold without resistance. This is the story of Skirret, the forgotten sugar of the soil, and the quiet industrial decision that erased it from our kitchens. Welcome to Botanical Vault. To understand why Skirret disappeared, we first need to understand what made it so different. Its scientific name is Siam cicerum, and it is not simply another old-fashioned root vegetable. It is something much stranger and far more useful. Most roots we eat today follow a short and exhausting cycle. Carrots, turnips, and parsnips are usually grown, pulled, eaten, and then replanted from seed the next season. Every year begins again from zero. The gardener works, the crop dies, the cycle repeats. Skirret does not play by those rules. Skirret is a hardy perennial. Plant it once, and instead of giving you one single harvest, it settles into the ground and begins building a permanent colony. Beneath the soil, it does not form one neat taproot like a carrot. Instead, it sends out clusters of pale, twisted roots, almost like white fingers gripping the earth. These root clusters are not just strange-looking, they are storage chambers. Skirret fills them with natural sugars to survive freezing winters, turning the plant into a living battery under the soil. And this is where Skirret becomes truly surprising. Below the surface, those pale roots were not just surviving the cold, they were concentrating food, energy, and sweetness in a way modern vegetables rarely do. A common supermarket carrot is mostly water. Around 88% of it is moisture, with only a small portion left as dry matter. That is why carrots can look fresh and bright, but still feel light in actual substance. Skirret is different. Its roots can carry far more dry matter, meaning each bite contains more. The strange sweetness is exactly why Skirret became famous long before the modern food system existed. In the ancient world, it was not treated like a poor person's emergency crop. It was admired, traded, and served to people with power. One of its most famous admirers was the Roman Emperor Tiberius. According to the old accounts, he valued Skirret so highly that he did not want just any version of it. The roots grown in warmer Italian soil were not good enough for him. He preferred the Skirret from the cooler Rhineland, where the climate helped create a sweeter, better-flavored root. So the local people were taxed, not only in coins or goods, but in Skirret itself. To Rome's elite, this was more than a vegetable. It was a luxury, almost a natural confection pulled from the ground. But Skirret did not disappear when Rome faded. For centuries, it stayed rooted in European life. In medieval gardens, it was known by names like chervis or crummock, and it became especially important in monastery gardens. Monks understood plants better than almost anyone of their time, and they valued Skirret for one dangerous season of the year. Late winter and early spring were known as the hungry gap. Stored grain was running low. Apples were softening in cellars. Fresh greens had not yet returned. This was when families became desperate. Skirret helped close that gap. Even in cold, heavy soil, it could be dug up and cooked. Boiled, stewed, or fried into sweet fritters. It carried people from the darkness of winter toward the first food of spring. Al food, more density and more stored energy. Then comes the sweetness. A typical carrot contains only a modest amount of natural sugar. Skirret can hold 2 or even 3 times more, especially after cold weather. Frost does not ruin it. Frost improves it. As temperatures drop, the plant pushes more sugars into its roots, almost like nature is seasoning it from the inside. That sweetness was not just pleasant, it was survival. In a world before modern refrigeration, supermarkets, and year-round imports, a crop that became sweeter in winter was almost a miracle, and the nutritional value made it even more impressive. Compared with carrots, Skirret was described as offering a much stronger vitamin C presence, giving it both flavor and practical nourishment when fresh food was hardest to find. It was not just a vegetable, it was winter insurance hidden in the soil. So how did a plant with royal status, deep sweetness, and real survival value almost vanish from the table? The answer was not disease, it was not pests. It was not because people suddenly decided Skirret tasted bad. Its downfall came from a change in the way humans began to think about food. By the 17th century, farming was no longer only about feeding a household or surviving the winter. It was becoming a business. Farmers increasingly grew crops not just to eat, but to sell. And once food became a market product, appearance started to matter almost as much as flavor. That is when the orange carrot began to rise. Before the 1600s, carrots came in many colors, including purple, yellow, and white. But Dutch growers began refining a bright orange carrot, a color linked to the House of Orange in the Netherlands. More importantly, they shaped it into the perfect market vegetable. It was straight, smooth, bright, easy to pull from the soil, easy to clean, easy to stack, sell, and transport. Next to that polished orange cone, Skirret looked wild and old-fashioned. Its pale, twisted roots were full of flavor, but they did not look clean or modern. The market chose beauty, order, and convenience. And slowly, the strange, sweet root lost its place. But Skirret's problem was not only how it looked. Its real weakness, at least in the eyes of industrial agriculture, was its shape. A carrot is obedient. It grows as one simple root, narrow at the bottom, thick at the top, easy to pull, wash, peel, and pack. Skirret is the opposite. It grows in clusters, with many thin roots tangled together like a small underground hand. That shape made it productive for a gardener, but frustrating for machines. The roots trapped soil between them. They had to be separated and cleaned carefully. A factory washer could not treat Skirret the same way it treated carrots or potatoes. A mechanical peeler could not easily strip every curved surface. It needed patience. It needed human hands. There was another issue too. Older Skirret roots often developed a thin, woody core running through the center. It was not impossible to deal with. Once cooked, the core could often be slipped out, and careful growers could select better plants with softer roots. But in a food system built for speed, even a small inconvenience becomes a reason for rejection. So when tractors, processing plants, and supermarket supply chains took control of farming, Skirret was pushed aside. It was too irregular, too delicate, too slow to clean, and too difficult to standardize. The industrial food system did not ask which crop tasted better. It asked which crop moved faster through the machine. Skirret failed that test, and the carrot won. And yet, the very qualities that made Skirret inconvenient for big agriculture make it almost perfect for the home garden. A supermarket needs crops that behave like factory parts. A backyard gardener needs something different. You need resilience. You need food that returns. You need plants that do not demand a full reset every single season. That is where Skirret shines. Because it is perennial, you do not have to start from nothing each year. Once a healthy clump is established, it can keep coming back. To harvest it, you dig up the crown, break away the fattest roots for the kitchen, and place the living center back into the soil. Instead of destroying the entire plant, you are managing a colony. It is a quiet form of abundance. In the kitchen, skirret rewards the effort. When roasted, boiled, or fried, its sweetness deepens, and its flavor becomes more layered than a carrot. There is a nutty quality, a hint of parsley, a soft, parsnip-like warmth, and a sweetness that feels old, almost forgotten. For gardeners, permaculture growers, and anyone tired of disposable food systems, skirret is not just a crop. It is a way back. The story of skirret is more than the story of one forgotten root. It is a warning about what happens when agriculture begins to value convenience more than character. We did not lose skirret because it lacked flavor. We lost it because it had too much personality for a system built on uniformity. Its roots were not straight enough. Its shape was not clean enough. Its harvest was not fast enough. So the machine moved on, and with it, our memory of a crop that once fed monks, pleased emperors, and sweetened winter tables across Europe. But that loss is not permanent. Every garden gives us a chance to choose differently. Growing skirret today is a small act of rebellion against supermarket sameness. It means choosing flavor over appearance, resilience over convenience, and living abundance over disposable harvests. It means planting something that does not ask to be replaced every year, something that comes back through frost, stores sweetness in the cold, and reminds us that the soil remembers what the market forgot. So maybe it is time to bring skirret back, not as a museum plant, but as food, a legacy crop, a sweet root for the future, hiding quietly beneath our feet.